The following program was paid for by the friends and partners of WLMB-TV 40 Toledo.
My heart was broken when I heard about the hurricane coming and everything that was happening, and I just wanted to do something more, and I was really hoping in my heart that our church would do something. And when I found out that a team was going, I knew that I was going to be on board with it.
Well, welcome you to another episode of Main Street, the fastest half hour on television. I'm Jamey Schmitz. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host for the last 19 years, Virginia Bossa.
Hey, Jamey. Well, people out there might notice that we're a little reversed here.
We are a little reversed because today you're not only the co-host, but you're also the guest.
Ooh, I'm a little nervous.
Yes, but the reason you're a guest is we're going to be talking about the missions trip that you went on with your home church, Calvary Church, with Convoy of Hope. But our special guest also is my good friend in ministry, Pastor Keith Kurtz, associate pastor at Calvary Church, and a little tongue-tied there. Sorry about that, folks. And also a wonderful member there at Calvary Church, Annette Clark. Annette, Pastor Keith, welcome to Main Street.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to get right off and start on this interview. Would each of you tell a little bit about yourselves? We'll let ladies go first.
Okay, my name's Annette Clark, and my husband Phil and I were able to go on this trip together for the first time. We did a missions trip together, and I am part Puerto Rican, so I was very interested in going to Puerto Rico.
Pastor Keith.
Like Jamey said, I'm the associate pastor at Calvary. The first 7 years, I was the children's pastor, and I've moved into our associate pastor role. Loving that. Been married 23 years, have 4 kids, and so that's Pastor Keith.
Yeah. Now, I already know to answer this question, but I think the viewers will really love to hear this. Pastor Keith, why did you decide to go on this missions trip to Puerto Rico?
That's a great question. In 2017, when the hurricane first hit Texas, and then you had the other one that hit Florida, and then, right away I had in my spirit, God was just telling me, hey, you need to do something. We need to do something as a church. And, at first it's easy to think, okay, well, we'll just be the church that will collect things and send it off. But, God was challenging me more, like, no, I need you to do something else. And so started to open doors, seeing what we can do. And, with Texas and Florida, there was not too many open doors for us to do too much. Then the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, and found out there was a ministry, Convoy of Hope, that was going to be sending teams. Reached out to Convoy of Hope and said, hey, Calvary's very interested in doing something with Puerto Rico. And they said, hey, we'll be in contact with you the first of the year and let you know what you can do. And so they contacted us, and we went.
That's right. So really it was something God birthed in your heart.
Yeah.
And so you kind of spearheaded this and said, I want to bring this to Calvary Church, and we need to go to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
So now turn my attention to Annette. Annette, so now Pastor Keith puts out the challenge and lets the whole church know that Calvary Church is going to go with Convoy of Hope to Puerto Rico on a missions trip. Why did you decide to go?
Well, I was very excited because, like I said earlier, I'm part Puerto Rican, and my heart was broken when I heard about the hurricane coming and everything that was happening, and I just wanted to do something more, and I was really hoping in my heart that our church would do something. And when I found out that a team was going, I knew that I was going to be on board with it. I really wanted to go.
That's fantastic. Now, I know why Virginia wanted to go on this trip. Because one day she came into my office and she said, our Calvary Church is going to be going with Convoy of Hope to Puerto Rico, and I really want to go. And I said, what? I think we can partner with you, Virginia, and help send you that way, because our friends of the ministry had been really generous with us in our last share-a-thon, and so we want to invest in missions as well. And so we sent Virginia, and some of her family went along.
That's
and
right.
Tell your story. Why did you decide you wanted to go?
Well, actually, my story is different. I didn't really get invested into thinking about Puerto Rico or the hurricanes. I was sad when I heard the stories, but I think like many Americans, it's another disaster. But shortly before this trip was announced, I just cried out to God. I was like, I want to go on a missions trip and I want to make an impact. And I was just like, Lord, just send me. I will work so hard for you. And then that weekend, then Pastor Keith, he announced to our Connect group, hey, we're going to have a missions trip to Puerto Rico, and I was like, wow, thank you, Lord. You're awesome.
Answer to prayer. So, Pastor Keith, you went with, now last week our episode was on Convoy of Hope. Okay, so if you missed that, go to our archive and take a look at that. But, Pastor Keith, you went with an organization called Convoy of Hope. Tell us a little bit about this ministry and why you chose to go with them.
Yeah, Convoy of Hope is a great ministry. They partner, I should say, they go out and do a lot of disasters. So there's a disaster or wildfires or wherever. They're the people that get on the ground and start, handing out water or food or whatever, or rebuilding that. And so we, knew they were a Christian organization and, wanted to partner with that. A lot of times when Calvary takes a missions trip, we partner with a missionary. So when we're on the ground, we know we're working with somebody that knows the area and can help us do the things that we need to do. So, and we didn't know a missionary there, so we just knew Convoy of Hope would be there. So I reached out to Convoy of Hope and said, hey, how can we partner with you? We want to help rebuild Puerto Rico. We want to do something. So that's why we chose Convoy of Hope, and they were great because they know the area. They had resources ready to go for us, and all we had to do was just get there.
That's right. And our first day in Puerto Rico, we were at the warehouse. And, so they started us off working really hard and really, getting that warehouse organized. And, I would love for you guys to share a little bit more about that experience.
Well, one of the things that comes to my mind is the very first day that we were there, my husband and I were helping a young man load some pallets onto the back of a truck. And it was our first experience speaking with someone who had actually gone through the storm. And I asked him, how was it? What was it like? Did you lose electricity? And he proceeded to tell me. But then he said, I've only had electricity for 1 month. So that was hard to hear. That was hard to hear. And he was a young man, probably in his 30s. And I think about someone going without electricity for 6 months at that point in time.
Yeah, in America, when we go without electricity for 6 minutes, we
go
have
crazy.
a hard time.
That's right.
Yeah. For me, the warehouse, it was a big size warehouse, and we walk into this warehouse, and the first part of this warehouse, what they did was it was a feeding station. And they had a whiteboard up, and they were keeping track of all the meals that they were feeding people. And I was blown away that at that time they've given out over 7 million meals.
7 million?
Yes.
And with 7 and 6 zeros?
Yes. And that was, Convoy was there 4 days after the hurricane. So, in 8 months, they've already given out 7 million meals. And that blew my mind. Like, I didn't know that people were in need of that, and so and then they're turning the warehouse into a building supply, so people can come and get supplies to rebuild their home. And so it was cool to be at the warehouse to see, okay, this is where everything starts at.
Yeah. Now, you had a very significant experience at the warehouse, but your team also had the opportunity to specifically help a small community in Puerto Rico. Tell us a little bit about that community and what you did there exactly, Pastor Keith.
Yeah, we went to a community called Village of Hope, and this was a very poor village we went to, poverty-wise, and, so we were going into, okay, we're just going to do anything you ask us to do. That was our team's mindset. Hey, we're going to be the most flexible team that Convoy's ever seen. So if you want us to dig holes, we'll dig holes. If you want us to put a roof on, we'll put a roof on.
And those are things that we did do,
yes.
and a lot more, and it was hot there. Yeah. And, I also want to mention our experience of first driving into the village and how our van, like everybody's chattering as we're, going down the streets and everything, but then, we turned the corner into the Village of Hope, and it was silence in the van.
Well, I think what struck me the most was, like Pastor Keith was saying earlier today, we just saw foundations, so many foundations with no homes, where during the hurricane, the homes were actually just blown away. And then the piles of garbage from where everyone, when they tried to clean up, they just piled it and it was still there.
Yeah, they have nowhere to put it.
Yeah, it was just sitting on the side of the road. When we pulled in, And like Virginia said, the van just got silent. And we get out of the van, and the people that are Convoy of Hope, Paul, who's, the lead guy on the field, says, okay, this is going to be our station where we're going to sit up every day. This is where we're going to have lunch. And it's somebody's house, but it's a foundation.
Yes.
And I'm standing there like, you got to be kidding me. This is, I didn't expect this, and just to see the debris all over the place. And, and they said, no, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start cleaning up debris. And I'm standing there thinking, where do you want me to start at? It was that bad. And it hit my heart right away.
Yeah, so in the midst of devastation, though, you are resolute and you're ready to be foot soldiers for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to help them clean up and try to get back to some sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
And now, one of our team members shared a story, and in it she talks about one of the people that some of the team members of ours had the opportunity to help in laying stone down. And so we want to go ahead and take a look at this clip of a woman who experienced tragedy during the storm.
Actually, she stayed in her home during the hurricane, and this gentleman came back to check on her a couple of days later, and all was left was her bathroom. And here she's hiding in her bathroom, holding a gun, because everybody was just rampaging and looting and stealing everything. And this friend of hers opened the door, and here she's standing with her gun. And he came there to check on her. And then come to find out she has colon cancer, and there's no health care. I just hope when we come back next year, she's still here with us.
So what a powerful moment for our team, and a great opportunity to share the love of Jesus. And I'm so thankful that some ladies on our team had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Annette, would you mind sharing another story with us about another family that has been impacted by the hurricane?
Yes, there was another family. The man was an elderly gentleman. He was actually a U.S. veteran, and the woman's name was Lucy. And we were with Pastor Elvis, who asked them if they would be willing to share with us. And immediately the man said, oh yes, honey, take her in the house. And so we actually went into this home, and I tell you, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. The tin roof had little holes in it, so every time it rained, they were getting wet. All these months later, she took us like from one room to another, and it seemed like the house was kind of crooked, and I asked.
It was crooked.
Yes.
And the floorboards were soft.
Yes, they were from the rain. And I asked her, and she said that their home was not blown away like all the other homes, but it was literally shifted.
Yes, we could see from the frame of the house, to the wall. She pulled back a little rug that she had.
Yes.
And we could see the outside. We could see the ground.
Yep, right. Yep, we could see it. It was just very plain right there. And at one point, she took me in her bedroom and she said, why don't you lay on the bed? And I thought, why does she want me to lay on the bed? But she said, no, really, I would like for you to lay on the bed and then get up. And so I did. And when I stood up, I was dizzy. Because, I stood up and almost fell because I was crooked. And it reminded me of like an amusement park where you would go in the crooked house. And to think they've been living like this ever since the hurricane was just really heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking. And she cried as she told me her story. And then she took us into the kitchen, and the kitchen countertop was angled, and she had a canister underneath of it, just keeping it so that it was not angled at a big angle, because she said when she would put her food on there or try to prepare her food, everything would just slide down. And so it wasn't even level. And that was one of the, probably one of the saddest stories, I think.
Absolutely. And
while
actually,
we were there.
We've got a video clip of their story, and so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that, and we'll be right back after this break.
Horrible. Seeing trees like that flying around. We saw a house going down the river, completely floating in the river. Those metal sheets, like bullets. Unbelievable, something out of, I cannot describe it, but not good. Definitely not good.
And when you
came home and saw your house?
We was crying. Not only this, all this was devastated. Houses with only walls, no roof, nothing. Everything. I'm a veteran. If I could say that this was a bomb that hit this, I could say, yeah, I will hit this. But with a storm, something that what happened here to look like a bomb, it's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Talking to the people there in this village, the first thing you would hear from them is, man, I don't feel like I have any hope. You know, they feel like they've been forgotten about. But when they would see our teams come in, we're able to go and be Jesus, show compassion, to hug people. Our team hugging on people changed lives that way.
WLMB's free monthly program guide keeps you informed about your favorite Christ-centered and family-friendly programming found on WLMB. There's something for the whole family to enjoy, from great Bible teachers to classic family favorites. Plus, you'll find family movies, news from a Christian perspective, local shows Main Street and Pastor's Point, excellent don't-miss documentaries, and much more. Enjoy quality Christian television on WLMB-TV 40 and sign up for your free monthly program guide today.
The mission of Dominion Broadcasting WLMB-TV 40 is to provide Christ-centered television of high technical quality and programming excellence to uplift, unite, educate, challenge, and encourage viewers in a manner consistent with the teachings of God's Word. Won't you join us? Please send your gift today and be a part of the ongoing mission of WLMB-TV 40. Thank you. Now, back to Main Street.
That was awesome when we went to Pastor Elvis's church and they sang Superhero in Spanish. A video recorded and I sent it to my kids. And I was like, look, Zoe and Sammy, they sing the same song that you guys do, just in Spanish, and they love the same God that we love. And I thought, that's something that if I had stayed at home, my kids would never have experienced that. And that's something that they can relate to right now. You know, that there are people all over the world that love the same God that we do, no matter what language it's in.
Wow, that was a powerful and inspirational story that Nicole shared, but I understand there's another chapter of that story that you want to talk about, Virginia.
You know, in the video you see her standing next to a horse, and you guys can testify to this, that the animals that we saw in this village, you know, they were also suffering too. Yeah. And she had that horse next to her that was actually a pretty healthy horse because it was from Teen Challenge and they were taking care of it. That's the place that we stayed. But the other horses that we saw in the community, like we could see their ribs. They were very emaciated. And so it was just, you know, a sad situation. Yeah,
just another effect of the hurricane. Yes. But going back to the Village of Hope, Pastor Keith, in what ways was your team from Calvary Church through Convoy of Hope, able to help the people in the Village of Hope?
We were able to do a lot of different things. We were able to build a house, you know, that was, you know, right from the foundation. You know, we were able to start doing that. We were able to start pouring concrete block and columns and the form in there. And then, you know, just even throughout the village there, our teams were being poured away and say, hey, we need some help pouring some concrete here. Can someone come over here and pour concrete? So a lot of concrete work, a lot of just cutting wood and putting roofs on. It was just a lot of those different things like that.
Yeah, and I think you were telling me that if you don't see another piece of rebar in quite a while, that'd be okay.
Yes, yeah, tying a lot of rebar.
Tying a lot of rebar. Yeah. But doing the hard work.
Yeah.
And, you know, earlier you were telling me that it wasn't just the guys, but the ladies were in there up to their elbows, too.
The ladies were phenomenal on this trip because the ladies came and they were always constantly saying, okay, show us what we can do. Tell us what to do. You know, we even have a picture of Virginia. She's with a circular saw. She's cutting, you know. And so, you know, just show me.
That's not something we've ever seen around
here. Yeah. But just show me one time.
We're going to send you on another missions trip.
All right, sign me up.
We could use some help with our set design every once in a while.
Yeah. So they were cutting wood. They were, you know, pouring concrete, you know, running screw guns. So they were phenomenal. And I told them that these ladies they just did a great job.
Yeah. And was Annette one of those?
Yes, she was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What were you doing, Annette?
Oh, I don't remember.
You were moving wood, digging
I
holes.
was moving wood, yes, cleaning up,
Yeah.
yep, passing buckets full of cement. That was hard.
Yeah.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
We held each other on that.
Yes, we did.
Our
Yes.
four hands to do it.
Yeah. Annette, tell us about the people, though, that were in the village. What is your reflections of that?
Well, I think Pastor Keith said it earlier, just resilient people, able to go through so much, and still you'd see them smiling. And one of the women on our team, she fell as she was going up the hill, and she just scraped herself up a little bit, nothing big, but we took her into, kept on going. And one of the homes, they wanted her to come in and sit down. I mean, they wiped her wounds. And in English, I was the translator, she was saying, oh, tell them it's not a big deal. And I remember saying, you know what, why don't you let them minister to you? They're just so happy to be able to give back. Absolutely. Because they see all of us working. And so she did. She just relaxed and sat back, and they just really took care of her, nursed her, and it meant a lot to them.
And now that place that happened was at one of the homes that we worked on, because we helped out at about 4 houses. There were 2 main homes, and so that was the house that was up on a hill, and Don Ramon and Nellie's home, and which they have an incredible story. And so we were so grateful to be able to help them in getting the foundation of their home going, and working with that rebar and concrete and everything.
Yes, yes. Well, Nellie had told me that when the storm was coming, first of all, I talked to the husband, Don Ramon, and he'd been in many hurricanes, he told me in Spanish. And so he said when the emergency came and they told him that they had to leave to go to the refuge, which was a school just right there in the same area, that he kind of thought it was overkill. He didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. He's in his 70s, I believe. And so they went, but when they came back, he said that he just he couldn't believe what had happened. And it was such a strong, powerful storm. And his granddaughter, who was a teenager when we met with her, said she just sat on the road and cried when she looked out over the community and saw so many houses missing.
She told me
cried.
how on the hilltop there was a van parked, and she pointed it out and said there used to be 3 homes there.
Yes.
All wiped out. So this was a village of 150 families. Now there's about 70 families that are living there, and they hope to build it back up. But after the storm, there was only really 8 houses that weren't destroyed from it.
Yes.
I mean, it was just great devastation to these homes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in this whole picture of this devastation, though, I don't want something to be missed in this story. Yeah. And Pastor Keith, I'd like you to speak to this. Amidst all this tragedy, the hurricane wreaked on everyone, could you share how you saw Jesus working not only through your team, but through the Church of Jesus Christ that was already in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, talking to the people there in this village, the first thing you would hear from them is, "Man, I don't feel like I have any hope." They feel like they've been forgotten about. But when they would see our teams come in, and wanting to help, they changed them. There were smiles on their face, the hug. And so what we were able to do more than anything, just putting a, concrete up or boarding up, we were able to go and be Jesus, show compassion, to hug people. Our team hugging on people changed lives that way. And so as we pulled away, it hurts to pull away and say, okay, man, did we really make an impact? Did we do anything? But you really do see that, because you see, man, we're able to love on them and give them hope and let them know that, hey, God still loves you. He's in control, and He'll take care of you. And so that's something that I thought I really saw, and maybe they saw something a little bit different or the same thing, but that was just really cool to see that part of our team just being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Right. Annette, would you like to add to that?
Well, I was thinking, and working with the church right there in Puerto Rico. We worked with Pastor Elvis's church, which was Christ the Redeemer. Yes. And everyone that we interviewed, made a reference to, if it wasn't for Pastor Elvis, we don't know where we would be. And then Nellie told me that 2 or 3 days right after the hurricane hit, that churches would come into the village bringing food that was already prepared. So the churches brought in food and water for the people there. Yes,
and now let me tell you about this pastor, Pastor Elvis, that was going into the community. He was, had a presence in the community beforehand. He, was like being Santa Claus, take the kids gifts, but he went in there once a month and checked up on these families, because the Village of Hope is like one of the poorest villages in Puerto Rico, and but he's just loving on these people. And his wife, when I interviewed him, his wife said he's like candy to the children. And so when they see him coming down the road, they are cheering, and they want their parents to stop the car so that they can see him and hug on him.
Yeah, one of the things, Jamie, that Pastor Elvis did for me, he reminded me what a pastor is. Because he was loving on this community before this hurricane, and afterwards what he's pouring back into this community. Just a reminder of what a pastor should be doing for a community, no matter where we're at, in Puerto Rico or here in the United States, what a pastor should be doing for their community. That was a great reminder for me.
And that is a good word. So Virginia, Annette, Pastor Keith, thank you so much for being with us. And you told me this will not be your last trip to Puerto Rico, is that right?
That's correct. We are already looking at taking other trips in, next year for that, and maybe more than just one too.
Yeah. Well, Annette, thank you for being with us. Pastor Keith, thank you for being with us as well. And Virginia, thank you for going on this missions trip on behalf of WLMB.
Well, thank you, Jamie. It was an honor to be a part of the trip, and so thank you for sending me. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Main Street, and we hope that you feel encouraged and challenged to support Puerto Rico, support Convoy of Hope, go on a missions trip, be a part of what's happening down there, and be the hands and feet of Christ. Just like Pastor Elvis is doing, that we talked about him throughout the program, and so actually we want to give him the final word, because he's still there making a difference. So let's take a look.
The people need Jesus. The people need help. The people feel alone. As I say, Jesus, I have only 2 hands. More people need. I pay the food. My church pay the food. I don't have more money. The supermarket is closing. The price is always. They say, this is help me to help the people. Oh my goodness. I see the children, so the guys, the little children. He can't bed. He don't have a roof. I want to speak for these people. He say, I'm okay, but it's not okay. I don't like my son live in a broken house, but it's okay. Jesus help me. I see missionaries, people come here. I don't feel alone. I feel good because I have more hands. I don't have 2 hands. Today, maybe I have 40 hands to help me, other people. I feel happy because Jesus helped me, because you help me too. Jesus is good every time. Every time, Jesus is good.